Well, today we're at Dover Regatta and we've come to the Kent Air Ambulance stand, and I'm going to talk to
David Fagg, who is a volunteer for the Kent Air Ambulance fundraiser.
So how long have you been involved?
5 years.
5 years. And you've been raising money all that time?
All that time, and also doing talks on the air ambulance, explaining to people how and what we do.
So you cover the whole of Kent, don't you, with the ambulance?
Yes, we do.
Sorry, if I'm right, it takes you a maximum of 15 minutes to get to any particular call out.
I think quite honestly that is stretching how long it takes. It really takes a little bit longer. If I could explain to you exactly what we do and why we do it. From our base in Marden, which is on the southern side of Maidstone, we can reach practically the whole of Kent in 25 minutes. But if I could say to you that we could get here to Dover in 21 minutes, why do we need to get here in 21 minutes? Well, if I can explain to you that if you have an accident, a serious accident, and you suffer trauma, if you can receive treatment from a specialist A&E consultant inside 20 minutes, we can get to you in this 20 minutes and we can perform life-saving operations at the scene of the accident. Because the chances of being any bugs or anything else that can get inside your body there are practically nil because you're in the fresh air. We can repair your lungs, we can stop your arteries, we can make your heart work, we can increase the amount of oxygen going to your body, to your brain, so therefore you will continue to live. If we can get to you in this 20 minutes and perform these life-saving operations, which can take anything up to an hour and a half, but all the time you're being treated for what's wrong with you. We stabilise you. If we can stabilise you, we will then put you in our helicopter and take you to a hospital, which can either be King's College Hospital in London or the Royal London Hospital, or if you're not too bad, we could take you from here, we could take you to the Ashford Hospital or the one at Margate, where I come from. And the benefit of this is that you are receiving specialist treatment. We don't do any more than the road-going ambulance can do, except that we've got an A&E consultant with us. We have an operating theatre inside that helicopter, and we can operate on the patient at the scene of the accident. To give you some idea of what we can do, we was called, not our air ambulance, but our sister air ambulance at Sussex and Surrey was called to the Hampshire border, and when they got to the scene of the accident, the doctor went to the paramedic, because what happens, the first medical person that arrives at the scene, they are then in charge of that scene medically wise, no matter what they are. And he said to the paramedic, "What's the situation?" He said, "Well, it was a car accident, 3 up. The driver is dead." If I can give you some idea how they can come to this quick diagnosis is, we're normal, like us three standing here are, and the crowd's with us. We've got a life number of 10. The number goes down as your life ebbs away. From 10 to 8, paramedics are trained. I'm not saying they couldn't treat you beyond that, but they're trained to treat from 8 to 10. He was an A&E consultant, and he looked at the patient and he said to the paramedic, "I think I can save him." Paramedic said, "Go ahead, doc, and do what you can." Well, the first thing he had to do with him was anaesthetise him. If you anaesthetise somebody that is in that situation, you are then responsible for everything. You're responsible for their blood, you're responsible for their breathing, because their brain is no longer coping with what's happening to them. He anaesthetised this chap. He died 7 times in an hour and 59 minutes alongside the road. They patched him up. He had the following injuries quickly. Blood was coming out through the top of his head. His jaw was broken and broken 2 of his vertebrae. Every one of his ribs was broken. Both his lungs were punctured and his pelvis was broken. They patched up one of his lungs and put him on breathing from the air ambulance. His blood was then controlled by a blood monitor and pump on the air ambulance. They stabilised him and took him to the Royal London Hospital. He remained in a coma for 6 days. He was then slowly brought back out of the coma, and for 6 weeks they slowly brought him back to life. He then left hospital and went home. This is the chap that died 7 times along the side of the road. He was then introduced to us volunteers. He walked down the centre of the hall. He's gone back to university. He's now leading a normal life. His father said there are some things he's not very good at. And one of his statements was he doesn't clean up his bedroom. At this stage, his mother hadn't said a word, and she was quite a posh lady. She said, he's never bloody cleaned it up before, let alone now. So if there'd been no doctor on that air ambulance, there would have been nobody to make this joke about. This doesn't come cheap. It costs nearly £2 million a year to run the air ambulance. It costs approximately £1,600 each time we leave the ground. We leave the ground 4 times a day on average, 365 days a year. So you can see where the money goes, and where it comes from is from the people of Kent. We get no help from the lottery. We get no help from the government, except the only thing the government give us, they don't charge us duty for our fuel, but that's not only us, that's all air ambulances. The fuel companies charge us to make the fuel. They don't charge for delivering it. That's their bit that they give us. But everything else costs. The doctors cost us £300,000, there's 3 of them. For £100, you get nearly 55 minutes worth of flying time in fuel. So you can see it is not cheap. But what price is a human life? We do not charge. If you go across the water from where we're standing here in Dover in France, you get charged. If an air ambulance comes to you as a rescue, in this country it's free. So this is what we're doing here today, trying to raise funds and awareness of what Kent Air Ambulance does.
I must say I had no idea that the ambulances were so fully equipped. I had always assumed they were simply a transport method.
No. Everything in there, we can do anything. That is an operating theatre. When it lands, it's got everything on it. And you've probably heard that we're in with Sussex and Surrey. Well, to give you some idea of why we're in with Sussex and Surrey, and we're also in with London, Essex and Hertfordshire, there was an accident at Whitstable. 3 people were injured. Our air ambulance took 1 patient, the Essex air ambulance took 1, and the London air ambulance took 1. They actually came down to Whitstable. Well, when you think Essex is only about 4 minutes from Margate by aircraft, I know it's a long time by car.
You don't have to cross that wretched bridge, do you?
No, we fly straight over the top of it. And also our equipment. I mean, we wanted a heart monitor. You know, the one that the nurses push away in Casualty, the television programme, they tunnelled it along. Not a lot of good in a helicopter in the middle of a ploughed field. So they found one in America that was about the size of a portable radio. But they wanted a dickens of a lot of money. I'm talking thousands. So our chief executive asked the other air ambulances if they would like one, if he could get it at a reasonable sort of price. And he got 3/4 of the price knocked off because we bought 4 of them instead of 1. This is where we're advantaged. But none of your money that you give us in Kent goes anywhere except on your helicopter. We don't suddenly give some to Sussex and Surrey or anything like that. So you can rest assured we use your money for what it's needed for.
Well, that's wonderful. You've given us a terribly